Yo, I'm Coach Boz. I'm a two-time college dropout who turned an entry-level job into a 10-year career in just over 6 months, or under 6 months, really. And today, I want to talk a little bit about what paper chasing really entails and what it includes and the dangers of it. So stay tuned.
And I've been chosen by my state, feel like, look, wait, I'm not the 2-3, I was picked first, I'm the, wait. And I've been traveling around my country for a minute. Every state I go, I find rings. I feel like I'm LeBron James. In Cleveland, this for you, it gotta be, homie. I'm from the land, so understand my people gotta be hungry.
Yo, so, again, Coach Boz here. And I like to talk a lot about careers and how we can build off of our careers and things like that. And mostly because I think that we look at success as these like this microwavable thing. And excuse me, I got work tomorrow, so I'm gonna shave after this video, but I think it's important for y'all to just see the realness, right? But yeah, anyway, I just think it's super important to kind of talk through what investment looks like. And we always talk about investing money and investing our time in other ways. But I kind of want to talk through what investment looks like in your career, in your day to day, and why that stuff is important. And I think the world we live in would kind of tell you that we actually don't value investment. We have day traders, right? Which is like the microwave version of what the slow cooking would be of buying low and holding, right? Purchasing and holding stocks. We have people that will talk about looks maxing, right? And talk about fad diets, and that's cool and everything, but you're not really creating a lifestyle of change, right? Which would be the crock pot way of doing things. And I think in today's society, when it comes to like making money or like using a career, we go, okay, let's make the most out of this little thing for this short amount of time, and then we'll milk it dry and then we'll move on. And I would just argue that I don't think that that's the healthiest thing, and I don't think it's the best use of our time. And today we're going to talk about chasing money and how that can hinder your success. And there's like three major points that I kind of want to talk through. The first one, honestly, is they're having more than two jobs. I think that a lot of people, they have like this thing where they're like, oh man, I got this many jobs, I got this many checks coming in. And I think that that's cool, right? When I was younger, and again, I think I've talked about this before, a lot of things that I'm going to talk about are not just things that like, I'm going to just say them because I think that they're true. Like, these are things that I've kind of lived through, and I think that I have a lot of value to offer just because I've been there and I've done all of that stuff, right? One of those things, again, is having more than two jobs. So I used to work in a space where a lot of my employees would be like proud of the fact that they had multiple W-2s coming in. And a lot of times it was just unhealthy because they had multiple jobs. They just had multiple jobs that they were like running through. Like, they'd work for one place for 2 months and then work for another place for 3 and another place for 4. Like, it would just be a hot mess. And by the end of the year, they'd be super excited about having all these W-2s so they get their tax refund. And like, there's this real, like, as I've gotten older, this real unhealth around just what it means to work and to steward your time well. And so, yeah, I just think that having more than two jobs is very unhealthy. I think if you have one that is like a full-time gig and then you have another part-time gig, when I say full-time gig, I should say like a lot of time, I know a lot of people with like day jobs / careers, and then people that have like a hobby or a hustle or a gig that they do on the side, right? I know people that have their own business on the side. I know people that like work an off shift on the side of something that they just have done for a long time and they want to continue doing it. Some people might like to bartend because they just like to bartend, and so they do that on the side. Ride shares on the side. If it's like shopping for people on the side, if it's delivering like orders on the side, like there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with having multiple streams of income and those be laborious, right? Meaning you're working. Like, I have no problem with that. I just think that when you start dipping past 2 different places you're receiving income, that you're going into a weird realm of, sorry, there's a little Jesus on my thing. And when I need to remember what I'm trying to say, put little Jesus in the mix. Yeah, like there's times where like, when you're going a little bit further than just those 2 jobs, or if for me it'd be like 60 plus hours a week, right? Like I put about a 50-ish. I try to be good about like 50 hours, no more than 50 hours in my like day job / career. But putting another 20 to 30 into something else. So about 80 hours of labor a week, I don't think is crazy. I do think that the Western world has a really weird relationship with rest that I'm trying to unlearn. I think it's incredibly normal to be doing things from sun up to sundown and beyond. I do believe in like healthy boundaries and rest. But I think that sometimes we look at 40 hour, like if you think about it, right, there's a ton of hours in a week. I think there's 128 hours in a week. I could be making that up. I don't remember the math, but man, it just feels like that's not right math. 24 hours times 7 does not feel like 128. 240, something like that. There's a bunch of hours in the week. A third of your week is going to be sleeping, right? And I think that's normal. 56 times, maybe it is like 160 or something hours. And so yeah, about a third of that is going to be sleeping. I think if 8 hours a day are going to be sleeping, that means we have 16 other hours. I don't think it's crazy for 12 to 14 of those hours to be dedicated to doing some type of work or something that is bringing money in. I don't think that that's crazy. But here's the caveat. In my experience and in my opinion, when we are actively working more than 2 jobs, like it actually means we're probably not pouring enough into our main job. Right. There's probably opportunities that you're leaving on the table of like promotion or like personal development that if you are so focused on just getting to these other jobs, you're probably not seeing the forest for the trees. Right. You're probably not getting enough out of that job. I thoroughly believe in the idea of working smarter and not harder, right? And so sometimes working smarter means, hey, take this promotion that is, instead of 50 hours, 40 hours, maybe making the same amount, but it's salary. And now that actually gives you more hours to focus on your hobby. Or instead of the 40 hours you're working, maybe you can work those same 40 hours and get a promotion just by focusing on or taking a dip for a month, right? Sometimes jobs will say, hey, we want you to learn this thing for a month. And then once you learn that thing, we want to put you into this higher position, right? In my personal opinion, the best way to get to a bigger paycheck in your work is a promotion. It's not asking for a raise, right? And so, and that's probably a blind spot for me. Like, and I'll make a video about that, about like when it's time to ask for a raise. I haven't really asked for very many raises, but I've gathered information and skills to get a promotion. I've done that, I don't know, a dozen times in my career, been able to get promoted based off of opportunities and knowledge and skills that I've acquired. So the first thing that you just the dangers of chasing money and hindering your success is having more than 2 jobs. Now, what I'm not saying is you can't have a third that you do one weekend a quarter, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't work a bunch of jobs. What I'm saying is, can you chasing the money hinder your success in other places? And are you misplacing some of your energy and not getting a lot out of it? That's really what I'm asking. Second thing is job hopping. So I kind of hinted toward that before. a lot of times what people will do, let's just say you're making $15 an hour at one place, but there's another place that'll pay you $15.25 an hour. Now, pragmatically, you are making more money. And if it's not that big of a deal, like, go to that next job. But then what I see happen a lot is that you'll be making $14 at one place that gives you 2 weeks of vacation. But instead of that, you're going to go to another place and make $15.50 that gives you 1 week of vacation. And then you see another opportunity where you can make $20 an hour with no vacation. And so, like, people will get blinded by some of these things. And a lot of time, these vacation increments happen with seniority, right? Or tenure or seniority, right? And so what I think is super important is, again, we're talking about our chasing money hindering our success. I'm not saying going to get money is a bad thing. I'm saying do not try to go get money and let it hinder your success. I think there's a very big difference between the two. So I just want to make sure we're framing this conversation the right way, because I'm not telling people to not go after it. Go after it. But are the things you're doing in the short term actually hindering what you want to do in the long term? Why is that important? I'm going to make a big analogy probably at the end of this video. But job hopping can really hinder that, right? Now, say for instance, if you stay at a job for 6 months, you get an instant $2 raise, right? Think about that, right? Like, so a lot of times what people do is just job hop and not like put their tenure to work, right? There's a value a lot of times in having some seniority at a place. You'll be the first one to get opportunities for more money, maybe more benefits, maybe a better department, maybe it's all different types of reasons why, like, having some consistency and anchoring yourself in a job is actually way more beneficial to you and your ultimate career growth. So again, that is a danger of chasing money and hindering your success is job hopping. And then the third thing, I would stay away from, like, just beware of what I wrote down is chasing cash fads, right? Cash fads would be things like gambling. And I know, like, I'm not trying to be the police. Like, I understand, like, you know, how intoxicating it can be to do these, like, sports betting. Like, I get it. I get it so much that I don't do it. Like, when they were opening, like, I live in Ohio, when they let the floodgates open for sports betting, I took all the free things they were giving. They're like, oh, like, if you sign up with us, you get $100 free and all this other stuff. I did all of that. And then once I was done with that, I was done. Like, I did not upload more cash into that, right? Because I know me, right? But I think a lot of people, now that there's so much more access to sports betting and things like that, that's one of those cash fads that I think we should chill on. Same thing with, like, betting on just anything. That's crazy. Like, that there's an online way that you can just bet on anything. Like, that's wild to me. But I would avoid that. That could really be hindering your success, right? It can hinder your success because you could be focusing on those things as opposed to your ultimate career, the things that you actually want to do. Other cash fads would be like some of the, like, you know, online casino stuff, like things that are just like fads, things that don't last. Maybe even like this happened a lot during COVID. A lot of people started businesses but didn't actually know how to run a business, or didn't even do any market research, or like the product that they had wasn't that good or wasn't that necessary. In my opinion, there a lot of the this is gonna sound really bad. I feel bad, but like a lot of people decided to become nail techs and lash techs. I personally understand it. To me, that's a lick. When I think of a lick, I think of something you could do right now to get something going. Not all times that you're trying to hit a lick is that gonna actually be. I don't know. Maybe eventually I'll define that. But I feel I'm from Cleveland. I don't know if everybody uses that language, but like that's language I grew up with. I understand it. If you don't, maybe this video ain't for you. Maybe it just isn't. These to me are the three, and I'll go into like an analogy. These to me are the three money chasing things that can hinder your success. If you focus, there you can get so much more out of that, right? So you're gonna hear me use this analogy a ton because it's very prevalent in my life right now. I'm growing a cherry tree. I put it in the ground last fall, like the end of the fall, and right now it's its first season in the spring, right? And I'm learning so much about pruning. I'm learning so much about just all the things that come with planting a tree. And there's something very metaphorical and analogous about life when it comes to like trees, planting, agriculture. In the Bible, there's a ton of parables just talking about agriculture and planting and what that means. And one of my favorite phrases you'll hear me say a lot is the best time to plant a tree is 5 to 7 years ago, right? Especially a fruit tree. That the best time to do it is when it will produce good fruit, and that's in 7 years. The second best time to plant a tree is today, right? And just put it in the ground and grow it and work through it. And there's some phrases and sayings that come along with planting a tree, right? What it says is like when you first plant a tree, the first year they sleep, meaning like they're not really growing. They're getting used to the soil. They're getting used to the different nutrients in the soil. And they're getting stronger roots and like getting themselves like really acclimated. The second year they creep, right? So they just start to grow slowly, gradually, and just establishing themselves. And then the third year they leap, right? And then the fourth year you'll start to see some fruit from it, right? And so to me, that's very analogous to just a lot of things, right? Putting your roots into something, getting acclimated is so important. Roots do a lot, right? Roots ground a plant. Roots get nutrients from the soil, right? So the water comes in, but the water takes the nutrients from the soil and helps pump it into the plant. And then the roots allow the foundation. When we are uprooted constantly, it's really hard to actually get the nutrients from a job. It's hard to get the college reimbursements because you haven't been there long enough. Some jobs you don't even get vacation days until you've been there for 6 months, right? Like, and so we'll get frustrated that we don't like the job's attendance policy. And we're like, oh, I'm about to leave because I don't like the attendance policy. But little do you know, I mean, like once you know it, but you don't like feel it, right? Once you are been there for 6 months, you have vacation days and you can like spread that stuff out, or there's leave time, or some jobs only have 2 weeks paid vacation, but you can take as much unpaid vacation as you want. Like these are the nutrients inside of the soil that we don't even get to take full advantage of, right? Other things. What did I just say about a tree? It grounds you. So like when the wind blows and all this other stuff, your roots are in the ground, and no matter how the wind blows, right, you're not being taken off of your pivot because you are grounded, you're rooted, right? Perfect example. When there are so many things in life that happen. Kids get sick, kids are in sports. There's so many things that are happening with children. So annoying. I love my kids, but they got so much going on. And as an adult, it's like, dang, like when do I have time for myself? The good thing is when you have roots in a job, if you need to take time off and you've had a good standing, you're much more likely to get that, right? When we talk about job hopping, what's not good, again, having more than 2 jobs, like you can't have your feet in 2 different waters, right? Job hopping is not good for those exact reasons. And another thing they tell you when you plant a tree, so when we talk about chasing cash fads, to me, that's like, again, for the analogy, that's like putting in like fertilizer when you first plant the tree. So what they tell you to do when you first plant a tree is just put it back with the native soil, right? You don't want to doctor up the soil because that's not good for the tree. The tree is going to assume, oh snap, this is what I'm getting. Okay, I'm going to get this nutrients all the time. In reality, the tree's only getting that nutrients because you put all of this fertilizer in it. And as the roots grow, that fertilizer is not going to be in the same spot that it's in. The roots are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 feet away from that main stem, right? And so it's super important that you are giving the tree the reality of what's going on, right? And then the same thing with us, right? Those cash fads, we can't like bank on those things. We can't save on those things, right? And why is all of this important? I'm a millennial. As millennials, I do think we were sold a bill of goods. We were told to just go to college and then get a degree. And then once you get a degree, you'll get a good job. And then I'm going to do my J. Cole impersonation, boom, boom. Then you're going to, be good forever. But the reality is, I know so many people. I think I only know like 2 or 3 people who have degrees and are working in the field that they got the degree for, right? That's not to say anything disparaging about anyone. I think what it is to say is that we assumed all of these things would be the reality, and they just were not, right? It just didn't happen. And one of the things that I think one of the ways we were failed is a lot of people aren't able to buy houses. But I'm going to be honest with you. Some of us not being able to buy houses, I was able to buy my house, right? But I think it's because of some of the things we're talking about here. Like I just planted my roots and took as much out of the soil as I could. And then when it was time to move on and get into a bigger pot or to get into a bigger field or whatever, I was able to go into that bigger field, go into that bigger pot, and my roots were ready for it. They were thirsting for it, and I needed that space, right? And then sometimes it takes a while to get acclimated to the soil, and then once you're acclimated, your root systems are ready for those other nutrient rich soils that you're going into, right? Again, this stuff is super important. I think that when we think about buying a house, at the end of how, whatever kind of goals we have, a 30-year mortgage or even a 15-year mortgage or even a 5-year mortgage, like that needs a level of stability that you just won't find if you don't find it in some of those pillars. One of the pillars is like, how are you going to make money? Because if you don't know, then the banks won't know. If the banks don't know, they're not giving you a loan. Now, if you just have the cash, great. Good luck with that. I would just say good luck with that. Now, in 2026, if you can afford to buy a home with cash, like good, without a bank's help in any way, shape, or form, good luck with that. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying this economy is crazy. So I would just encourage you to stabilize as much of your life as you possibly can. To me, I think we have a lot more control over the work that we do and the careers that we build than so many other pieces of the puzzle, right? We can't control the cost of things. We can't control even the availability of certain things, but we can control our ability to be able to afford those things. And I think one of the main ways we can do that is solidifying our income, is making sure that the income that we have is income that we can depend on, right? And it doesn't come from cash fads. It doesn't come from job hopping, and it doesn't come from working 80 hours between 5 different buildings and doing all that traveling and memorizing of of different issues and problems and codes and rules. It doesn't come from that, right? So I would just say, take what I'm saying, apply it the best way you know how. And I think it'll work. I really do. I think no matter where you're at in life, I think it'll work if you just, again, I always say this, water your grass, right? The grass is always greener where you water it. And I would just say, water your grass. Focus on watering the grass. Don't focus on the fruit that will come from it. Just focus on doing all the things that get you to the fruit. And I think you'll be just fine. If you find this helpful, do me a favor and like the video, comment if you think I'm great. Like if I'm off, if this doesn't make any sense, if you think that I'm just being very optimistic about the job market, like let me know in the comments below, and subscribe only if you find value in this content should you subscribe. So I would just say, if you don't find value, tell me why so I can do better. But that's it. That's all I got. Peace.
And I've been chosen by my state, feel like, look, wait, I'm not the 2-3, I was picked first, I'm the, wait. And I've been traveling around my country for a minute. Every state I go, I find rings. I feel like I'm LeBron James.